Okay, guys, so I thought we would do a show tonight. I saw this post or this vlog or blog from Gary Vaynerchuk, and it was 10 ways to protect yourself from fraudsters and scammers. And I thought, okay, it's really nice, it's all the rest of it, but Gary tends to focus a lot more on cryptocurrency and NFT wallets and all the rest of it, and he gets a bit geeky about the whole thing. And I thought, actually, when you come back to basics, some of the things he actually said are really good for anybody from just a layman's background. Don't understand technology at all, and they're just concerned, obviously, that there's scammers out there, and maybe the latest things that are going on in order to stop getting taken advantage of, if that makes sense. So I thought I'd bring Andrea on, because Andrea, you've got personal experience of this with your mum, eh?
I do, yeah, and I've had personal experience of it with myself as well. Mm-hmm. But lately, my mum had received a letter through from a company called Boiler Breakdown, and she was immediately suspicious about it. One, because she already has Boiler Breakdown through Scottish Gas. It gets paid in May once a year, and this one, they had a policy number. It was a Silver Plus cover. The policy start date was to be the 16th of March. The direct debit amount was to be £239.99, and the first payment would be taken on the 16th of April.
Wow.
And one of the things that I noticed on it when I looked at it, they had spelt her surname wrong, but all the other details were correct. Now, my mum will be 89 next month.
Yeah.
She doesn't have internet. Mm-hmm. She only has one direct debit, and that's to Virgin Media, because that's the only way that they'll take payment, and her bank does it for her. She went in there to set it up. Now, how on earth any other company got her details, she does not know. She's a very savvy 88-year-old lady, still lives on her own, and she is, she's switched on. So she has no idea how that happened. So they took the money out of her account. So she went into the bank, and they put a stop on the direct debit, and she contacted the company herself when she got back home and said, I didn't authorize this, and I've no idea how you got my details, but you'll need to get it sorted. And she told me yesterday that they'd actually put the money back into her account, and they called her to say that they had done that. So I don't know, there's probably just one person that's managed to get the details and think they can maybe make a quick buck out of it, but at least she was switched on, but there's so many other people out there just don't have a clue. And lots of people are making a lot of money out of those people.
Yeah, it's quite frightening, to that respect, at the fact that people will do that. I mean, there's many benefits, obviously, to being online and using your email and social media, etc. And while technology has accelerated the performance, it's given us instant access to information. We sometimes bombarded with attempts by fraudsters all the time, aren't we? And phishing. So phishing is people impersonating someone else to get information to steal from you. So basically, with the help of Gary Vaynerchuk, we've put together these top 10 tips in our own way. So phishing is somebody impersonating someone else, as in terms of, classic one is Martin Lewis, isn't it? Martin Lewis says he doesn't endorse anything online. So for goodness sake, whatever you do, if you see anything with my face on it, do not sign up to it. Do not click on it. Just immediately go and report it, because he doesn't do anything like that at all. So that's probably the most prominent one that everybody would know about in terms of scamming and attempts. We'll go through the top 10, the 10 ones, the 10 top tips I've done. The first one I would say definitely is don't send money to people you don't know. It's amazing how that could happen. A request from a stranger asking for money or personal information should always be a red flag, immediately, every single time. No matter what enticing offer it is, it's never a good idea to send money to anyone you don't know personally. However, that does not mean because you know them. I mean, this is the one I added. It doesn't mean because you know them, you should either. No, that's the reality. So be careful. If you're ever in doubt about it, ask a friend to look over what the request is just before you do anything. Ask somebody just to make sure you're in the right place, you're doing the right thing, and you know all about it. It's obviously something you know in advance, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, somebody could easily say, right, we've got this really good deal going on just now. Would you like to be a part of it? It will, it's £20 up front. Just send it to this bank account details, and then you never hear from them again. And, I do remember quite a few years ago even that a friend of mine got involved in a thing that turned out it was a pyramid selling type thing. Can't even remember what it was called now, but we stupidly bought into that. I think it was something like £200 or something. You think I would have learned my lesson by now. But, we never heard any more about that, ever.
But for a lot of people...
Just avoid it.
For a lot of people, like £20 and £30, they think, well, it's worth taking the gamble sometimes. And the reality is what they're doing is they're relying on maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 people actually doing the same thing. So they're thinking to themselves, if 5,000 people do it and we get £20 ahead, there's effectively 50, there's £100,000.
Yeah, so, I mean the only people that get rich out of these schemes are the people at the very top. And if you just imagine that you're lots of little birds sitting on branches on the tree, and there's one big bird above you, you know what happens when you sit under birds on trees. So
I think the true value of anything like that, when you're talking about a pyramid selling scheme, if that's what it is, the true value is does the value flow down? Does it flow down rather than up? That's the key here. So if you find that you're putting all the money up the way to someone else, in terms of that, it's more important that is it all coming down in the first instance. I think that's where to do. But I mean, back to this one about don't send money to people you don't know, and equally don't send money to people that you do know if you've not arranged it prior in advance. And so be careful of that, even if it's a small amount. And if you're unsure about that, if you're of an age where you're not sure and you feel pressured into it, then definitely speak to a neighbour, speak to a friend, speak to your children or your whoever it is that you put trust in, and make sure you don't do that. That's not the thing to do. Now, I've put all the information in this post anyway about what we're discussing, but we thought we'd discuss it one take at a time. So I think the other one is next is never share personal information with someone you actually don't know. I mean, some fraudsters won't ask for money right away, but instead request sensitive or private information such as your address, your phone number, your bank account or credit card numbers, or national insurance number. This information can be used to commit identity theft and should never be shared freely. This even comes back to putting stuff in the bin, doesn't it? When you're getting rid of all your letters and everything like that. I mean, I've now got a shredder.
Yeah, they say that you should actually really remove labels and things from any packaging that you get as well, because people can have ways of finding out the information from barcodes, as to what your details are. So they just, the best thing to do is have a shredder and destroy everything.
Yeah, I think for me that's the key. You never know. You can pick up all that information over a period of time. For somebody that's actually trying to get personal information, it's easy for them to pick up a birthday, and then it's easy for them to pick up home address later on, and then it's easy for them to pick up a national insurance number later on. It's easy, so it's easy to gather that data over a period of time. So if anybody asks for any personal information, then you don't give it to them unless it's necessary. A classic one here is I get called quite a lot because I have a lot of properties in terms of buy-to-let. And I often get called by people with regards to, I'm just phoning you about your utilities on your property. And my first response is, well, which one is it? And they go, well, I'm not allowed to tell you because it's data protection. And then my response is, but you're phoning me. I'm not phoning you. So you'll have to tell me the property. And then they go, well, I'm not kind of do that. And I say, well, I've got X amount of properties, so you're going to have to come up with one of them so I know what you're talking about. And then eventually it comes into the fact, I tell you what, just send me a letter. And effectively that's what happens. I just say, look, just send me a letter. I'll not divulge information over the phone to somebody. But we're Scottish Gas or we're British Gas. And it's like, well, how do I know we are? just because you say it, and just because you have a fancy, you know, thing in the background saying, you know, with people talking as if you're in a room with everybody else talking in a call center. That could be made up. You could put all these sound effects in place, and make everybody think that that's the case. And you can use logos and jingles and everything to make everybody feel like that's the case as well. I mean, going back to the old days, I mean, you know, we did play practical jokes on people and phone up and pretend it were the radio station. and people believed it. You know, I mean, this is when we were kids. It's like people believed it. They'd won competitions and stuff like that. So when you think about the logic of that, it's easy to do that for someone. So if someone actually does that, they're not asking for money right away, but they're asking for personal information, even by email. You think what's the methods you think, Andrea?
Well, obviously, there's email that's now coming through in text messages. It's coming through in personal messages through social media. You do even still get the old typed letters that come through. Yeah, and phone calls.
Social media is quite a prominent one just now as well. If you leave open a public profile on social media, you tend to get a lot of spam messages. I do get quite a lot of spam because my social media accounts are open, because obviously we are public to everybody. Yeah. So we do get quite a lot of spam from people, you know, and pretending to be different people from different backgrounds. And it's like, you know, I just ban them straight away, delete them. And effectively that's what you have to do. You have to be very, very wary. Probably a classic, and never sharing personal information. When I was working in industry, I would often overhear some of the staff actually talking to someone on the phone about things like turnover, profitability, who our customers are. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I used to stop there and go, who are you talking to? And it's like, oh, well, just somebody phoned me up from the Office of National Statistics, and they were asking me information about all our customers and what this is and what our turnover is and everything like that. I'm going, that's no the Office of National Statistics. That's probably our competitor. Yeah. That's the type of thing they used to do, you know, effectively. So, and they're readily rattling off all this private information to people on the phone because they sound official when they phone up, and they don't think anything of it. So it's people that have the nerve to ask, and it often sounds convincing that you have to be careful of, because it's people you don't know. So if you don't know and they don't ask for money right away, do not tell them any information on the phone or any email or anything like that, or click on any links if you don't know them and you're not expecting them. Any further advice before we move on, Andrea?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head there. Don't click on any links and don't open any attachments, because not only are people trying to get a hold of your money, but they're trying to cripple your computer system as well with viruses. So some of the attachments on these things will absolutely wreck your system, and it's not worth the risk. And there is also the thing of I've forgotten what it's called now, you know, where they try to get money from you. To unlock your system. I've seen a few of those coming through in work emails, but they just get binned straight away, and nothing seems to come of it. But they seem to be a mild threat, you know, that we've got all your account details and we're ready to lock it if you don't pay us X amount of thousands of pounds.
Yeah. And well, what you find as well is you've got your old passwords. So make sure you change your passwords. We'll probably talk about that later on anyway. So make sure you change them regularly. And make sure you've got a capital letter in there. Make sure you've got a number in there. Make sure you've got a symbol in there as well to change your password when you change them. And the reason for that is because often with other unencrypted databases and that you've signed up to in the past, just because you've used the same password, they're often vulnerable and they get that information from them. So that's why I've had it as well, where they've actually sent an email to me and says, by the way, we've got your password, and they've actually told me my password, an old one, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And it's like I had a cold sweat going over me at that point in time, thinking, wait a minute, they've got access to stuff that, you know, that I don't need them to get access to. So I was actually quite concerned, but that's what it was. It was an old password I'd continually used for quite a while, and it caught up on me because someone else was compromised from a different organisation outside of mine, and were able to get that information. But nothing came of it again. It's like what you say. I mean, they've got to get a username as well, and then they've got to. This is why there's two-step encryption now. So you've got you maybe get through the first part with the password, but then you've typically got a second part because they know the IP address it's logging on, or they don't know the IP address, and then they say, by the way, we're going to send a message or a number to your telephone that you've got registered with as well, and you'll have to put that in to get the next steps.
Yeah, I think one of the other things there about never sharing personal information, sometimes you can share it unintentionally. So if you're maybe sitting on a train with your laptop open and you're working on it, or you're on a bus or in your public library and you forget to log yourself out of anything, and not leaving your computer unattended or where it can be visible with, private information on it, and not just your own, but other people's as well. Data protection is very, very important.
This is a classic one as well. Never assume the name of the or the profile you see is the right one. We get that quite often, don't we?
We do, and again, I've had that recently. I had a text message came through from HSBC Bank saying that there had been an attempt on my online banking to take money out for a certain person, and I thought, I don't have an HSBC account at all. So, I mean, the thing is, I could have phoned, if I had an HSBC account, I could easily have called them up to verify details, but luckily I don't have one.
Well, they're assuming you've actually got. They're assuming by a numbers game the amount of people they're sending out to, because they buy lists that they're going to get somebody that's got an HSBC account, and they're actually going to click on it and actually put their information in. So my advice for that is never assume the name and the profile, and it all looks the same on the email. Okay, so what happens is out of this is don't click on the email. Go to your Google Chrome browser or go to your Firefox browser or wherever it is and actually go on direct. Don't click on the email to get in, just go on your browser direct and don't leave the email completely. Even if you get things like you've got a message waiting for you from your bank, even if I know it's legitimately my bank, I still go on independently to my browser and I actually just go in the bank separately and then I go and look for it. That's probably the thing I would say. I mean, many fraudsters are savvy enough to bypass the stranger danger roadblock by impersonating trusted or well-known figures. Probably a classic example of that as well is when you get a lot of email addresses, you can actually start it with any name you want. So you can actually call yourself Martin Lewis, you can call yourself, Tony Robbins, you can call yourself Alan Sugar, Richard Branson, but you'll find the actual email address after it isn't the same one. It doesn't match. It's something random like 564327884tgf@gmail.com or something like that. So if you actually go to respond to that and actually just reply to it, it usually ends up bouncing back because it's not a legitimate email address. And they don't want it to go back to anybody at the Virgin Group or anything like that, because then they'll pick up on it and they'll be able to trace it.
Yeah, I mean, there are, if you go onto a company's website, if you have found suspicious mail, you can report it on most company websites, and it's probably just as good to do that. Gets rid of another one.
I mean, that's effectively what they call phishing, eh?
Yeah. I mean, phishing sort of goes out. I mean, it's just technically like you're fishing. You can catch one, or you get trawling as well, which is related to the fishing as well, but you spread out a bigger net and catch a lot more people. So the fishing tends to be limited to a very small number of people.
Yeah, I mean, the key here is, though, to look beyond the name-dropping tactic and never assume that the source of the message is legitimate without verifying it. And that is effectively going onto their actual website and direct. And making sure, don't click on the email if you don't expect it. And watch out for things when you're on websites as well. They can change the web links, and we'll talk about that in a wee while. So, okay, the next one we've got here is look out for spam messages. I mean, if someone's spamming you with messages, requests, aka repeatedly reaching out, be very wary. Fraudsters can be persistent and likely to contact you several times on more than one platform or actually phone number. Now, just block the number on your phone. So if you've got a mobile, it's easy enough to block. I've actually put a link into here, into the actual blog itself we've actually gone on to. So if you click on the blog, it's all right, it's legitimate. Just in case. It's a legitimate blog. So if you click on the blog, and actually it'll take you on to, and number 4, it actually gives you how to block a number on your Android phone. So that's a Samsung or anything else outside of Apple. And then also how to block a number on an Apple phone. So it's easy enough to block it. That means basically once you block it, they will not come through to you. It will either reject it completely, or sometimes for some people, it'll go straight to voicemail. And you'll never ever get anybody speaking to you directly. So that's probably the key to look out for spam messages. Your classic example as well, isn't it? It's the mobile phone with the text. I mean, you get a text, but you actually can't reply to the text because it says it's from somebody up the top. You know, what they're using text systems like Zapier and Sendable actually to send all these texts out on mass market. To everybody, actually, they've got on their list of people and their numbers in the actual system itself. So again, I think you can block texts, you can block links. You've got spam filters as well for phones, which are actually quite good as well. You got any suggestions, Andrea?
I would say certainly for your computer to have a really good antivirus program that will include a spam filter in it, and quite often you can include that onto your mobile network as well. I know that there's one that I use personally at home, is called Avira, and I have that for my mobile phone as well. So
see, I've stuck with Norton since the very beginning. And a lot of computer people say, "Oh, Norton's too buggy and it's all the rest of it." And it's like, but I tell you what, because I've stuck with Norton for so many years, it's been perfect all the way through, and it's worked a treat. And I'm able to put Norton on my laptops. I'm able to put Norton on my phone. I'm able to put Norton on my tablet. I'm able to put Norton on my email addresses as well. So it's a great system, and virtually £25 a year to do that. And some of them have actually got what they call VPNs, so which is a virtual private network. So which means if you put a VPN in place, a virtual private network, means that no one can actually see who you are, where you're coming from, and what you're doing. So they can't trace anything. So you can't get anybody getting into what you're doing. Although Ben's assured me that sometimes he can get around it. Ben's a bit geeky, but he's doing what they call ethical hacking. It's like there's an ethical hacking, is there?
Yep. Yeah. My friend's daughter did that at university down south, and she's now employed by the police. So
I know the irony. So let's move on to number 5. Always very official websites and links. Always verify official website and links. Like fake phone numbers and social media profiles, fraudsters often create entire websites that look eerily similar to official sites when you conduct business. It is easy to actually go into a website and actually save a web page, and it saves every single graphic in that web page. And then you can put it on and you can re-upload it onto a different web page with your own address and slightly change it. So, for example, classic one now for us is Rightmove. I keep getting the V and the O mixed up. When I type it so quick that I keep getting them mixed up, and it goes to another page. Now, luckily, it doesn't show up as Rightmove, but it actually goes on to different links to other websites. So it's probably a classic, easy way how you can. So it's easy enough for that person to put on the Rightmove profile, and that can be easily used to get information, because then they can capture information, can't they?
They can, if they've got clever people that work their websites, they can put little indicator things on them called pixels, and it can pick up so many different bits of information, and it picks up your IP address, it can pick up your email, and where you've logged in from, and all that information, and they can see what other websites that you're looking at as well from those. So they can follow you about.
Put wee cookies in place and stuff like that as well, to get that information and collect that information without you actually knowing. I mean, a lot of people don't know what the cookies, what they actually do. And when if you think you click no on it,
to say that you don't accept the cookies, that you're not going to get to look at what the latest story is from the Kardashians or whatever on a cheap newspaper website. But so they'll click yes, and then they'll get absolutely bombarded with, emails and little adverts springing up everywhere on every website that they look at, because
what I use is Adblock Plus. So I actually use Adblock Plus, and so far the number of items blocked, I'm looking at it now, is 42,402 adverts has been blocked. So I use it. It doesn't cost anything. It's called Adblock Plus, and it's just it's like a wee stop symbol, the hexagon red, and it's got A, B, P in the middle, and you just upload that to your browser, and it can block every single thing on websites. When you get onto websites you really want and you know are verified, it sometimes says, look, can you unblock it because we can't show you anything. You need to be seen in order to go through the further journey of this process. But it's a great system, and again, it's another one I would endorse. Adblock Plus
There's a lot of times that, a long time ago, when internet was first coming out, a lot of the web addresses were just HTTPS. HTTP, and then they introduced the S, so people were lured into thinking, well, this is safe. It's got S at the end of it, and it's got a little padlock. But the fraudsters are so clever; they can get around that now.
And they'll often send these fraudulent sites will often be sent to you via email or text message. But again, as I say, be sure never to click on these suspicious links, and to always check carefully the URL address, which is the website address. Just make sure it's the right spelling. But if in doubt, again, I'll come back to saying, if you want to click onto something, then just go into Google and then type in the name of the company that you were actually wanting in the email, if you can't get the address and type it in yourself from there, and actually then just find it for there and go onto their website, and then you can find them from that process. And the wee padlock in the top corner does tell you it's security encrypted, which actually gives you a bit more verification about if it's a proper site. Google gives no presence anymore to sites that are not HTTPS, so they have to be that now. That's the most important thing, or they'll downgrade you immediately. The classic is, again, as I said, when you're sent an email and the title is correct, but the email address itself has no connection. And the one I use in this example is Martin Lewis, but his email address is something like bobjimp@gmail.com. So it's, I had to randomly think of these two names. I was thinking, no, I better not put that. I better not put this. No, the rest of it. So the next one, never share your private key or seed phrase. So what do we mean by that? Well, if you're in cryptocurrency or NFT wallet is your thing, and private keys and seed phrases are like the golden keys. So anybody that's in cryptocurrency now, I'll be honest as well. Cryptocurrency is not my thing. I don't go near it. As soon as somebody says to me about cryptocurrency, switch, I'm off. That's it. You're out. I immediately just if somebody friends me for the purpose of then sends me a message immediately about cryptocurrency, I'm right on and say unfriend, disconnect, you're off. I don't want to hear about cryptocurrency from anybody. I'm not interested in it at all. I don't want to even think about it, because it is not something I know enough about to take it any further forward. And I feel trying to sell me cryptocurrency is asking me to take a gamble.
Yeah, I must admit, I have heard about cryptocurrency, and I've heard that people have lost a lot of money through cryptocurrency and by not really knowing what it was when they got into it. And it's not something that interests me. So
yeah, well, it's like what you say. I'm convinced some of it's pyramid selling, and in some shape or form. Not the real stuff, not the people that know what they're doing. But I actually don't know the people that know what they're doing. So that's what makes me very, very wary of it. And if I don't know about it, I don't get involved in it. That's it in a nutshell. I'm very, very cautious that way. So if you come into cryptocurrency, just like anything else, or if you've got something like that, your passwords and that are your keys to the money. Sharing your public address is fine, but remember, if someone has access to your private key, or what they call your seed phrase, then they can steal your funds with ease. There is a guide in there to actually, for anybody that's cryptocurrency, to actually protect themselves for secure seed phrase storage. Now, this guide is actually from Gary Vaynerchuk. Now, that's Vaynerchuk Media. So, I don't think you'll have to worry about that guide that's been sent out. That'll be the right links and everything like that. Many fraudsters will take advantage of people asking them to verify their wallet address to win a prize or some other incentive. So don't fall foul of it. Again, if you don't know much about cryptocurrency, I'll be honest, you shouldn't be involved in it. It is a gamble at this point in time. People are saying their prices are going up, I'm making $40,000 a coin now and all the rest of it. It's like that means absolutely nothing to me. Nothing completely. So you need knowledge more than anything. So if you're unsure about it, you need to know more about it. Probably Gary Vaynerchuk is probably a good website to go to. And again, I've put him in the beginning of this actual blog to his website itself for Vayner Media. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Oh,
sorry, could I just... Sorry, Jim, I was just going to say about private key or seed phrases. We probably know it more as memorable information. There's a lot of people will be aware that on social media, especially Facebook and Instagram, and that might do it as well, but somebody will put up a post and they'll say, oh, what would your stripper name be if you used the first 3 letters of your father's surname and the last 3 letters of your mother's surname? And so people are putting all their answers out there. Or what was your pet's name and your granny's middle name? And it's a way of gathering information. So avoid getting sucked into those things, even although it seems quite funny.
Yeah, there is a temptation, isn't it? Just to do that and take part in the quizzes. Often what they don't realise is the quizzes are gathering information to then retarget you with the proper adverts. I mean, that's how they swung the Brexit election. Cambridge Analytica actually put out quizzes based on, what's your preference for about the Brexit and what's your thoughts about it? Is it A, B, or C? And then you would click on it. And then what they would do then is then they would be able to retarget the swing voters with specific adverts to frighten them into actually voting for Brexit. So that's how they were involved in that. So that's another thing that you have to be wary of, just about things that you'll click on. It could give away personal information or personal thoughts about what you would do in certain situations. It might actually lead them to get more information on you to actually to create cybercrime and get key phrases about you. Do not use birthdays and your kids' birthdays and your kids' names as your passwords. That is the wrong thing to do. That's just going to, because they'll all know these. They have systems that gather all that information over time, and then they'll collect it. And readily available, you'll have them all linked into your social media profiles as well, which they can get access to as well. Again, don't be too worried about the fact that you're on social media. Just be vigilant about what information you're giving out and why you're saying it and who's asking it from you, and is it a legitimate source. If in doubt, there's always the cybercrime unit. And again, I've put a link in this post, in this vlog, to the police cybercrime unit if you want more information on that. So let's talk about advanced fee schemes. I mean, they're fairly common. In these cases, someone will ask you to send a sum of money in exchange for a promise or a greater reward. Victims send funds willingly because they believe they're making an investment, only to see their money disappear. This is the classic emails that everybody gets. Oh, I've got 5 million trillion pounds in the east of Abu Dhabi, and I need 50,000 pounds from you to release this money so I can put it in your bank account. That's kind of the thing we're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah. It's always somebody's, a relative has died and left you this amount of money in your will, and all you need to do to verify it, to release it to you, is send £250 or £2,000, to fly us over to verify that you are the person it needs to go to. Yeah.
And then that goes hand in hand, doesn't it? With the one about they might not necessarily ask for all this information straight away. What they might be doing is, like I said, the fraudsters might ask for the money straight away, but instead request private sensitive information, which actually leads you into a false sense of security. I mean, dare I say, it's likened to grooming someone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they could ask for bank account details so they can make a payment into it.
Yeah. And then once they've got bank account details, then they've kind of worked out maybe possibly a password to some respect, and therefore they go through the process of actually trying to work out your password. Because a lot of the times, people's usernames are often their email addresses.
Yeah, because people try to go for something that they're not going to have difficulty remembering. So they'll think, right, okay, I'll keep it as my email address, and then I'll put a really difficult password in. But they'll have the clever ones. They'll have password, code crackers, things that can work out passwords quite easily just by turning out random numbers through a computer program.
Well, it's a random generator, isn't it? It goes through every single combination permutation. Yeah. It actually trawls all your information on your social media channels and everything like that, and actually starts to randomly put all that stuff through. So it's a bit scary because it's like you see this on the television and films, but in reality, these things actually exist.
Yeah, they do. It surprises me actually when you see some things on TV and you think, nah, it couldn't possibly happen. But actually it does. And, you just needed to, the more lately things don't seem to be happening so much now, but putting the skimmer machines in on bank card details, it must have been about coming up 2 years ago. It was just about this time 2 years ago exactly. I had used a bank card in the town where I work, and just after that, it was the only place I'd used it. I don't spend a lot of money, but I'd used it in a shop. And then the next thing I knew, my bank was phoning me to say they reckoned there'd been fraudulent activity on the account.
How did you know it was your bank?
Because they had actually contacted my husband, and he phoned me and said, you need to contact the bank to verify that it's me. So I phoned the bank and I said, I believe there's been fraudulent activity. And they said, yeah, somebody's used your card today. And they've bought online through Amazon a wig, a rather expensive Afro-Caribbean wig, which I would never buy, but and they had also used it in Argos as well to buy something at about £200. So they put a stop on everything, and we did get our money back from Amazon. But it just shows you, I mean, I'd used it once in about a month.
Yeah. So advanced fee schemes are something to be aware of. If anybody's asking for money to get a bigger reward, then again, it's going back to cybercrime unit with the police, or again, it's asking someone at you trust to just verify what you're doing is the right thing. There's no harm in doing it. I mean, it's not the only question. The only stupid question is the question never asked, if that makes sense. So you're better to ask rather than actually find out later on that you've lost. And let people pressure you into a time-pressured status as well. Often you'll get these things that you click on, and then they have the clock running down right in front of you while they're saying, they say, oh, you've got to get this, you've got 3 hours, 4 seconds and 33 days or something, and it's all these different things, and it's designed as a human thing to get you to actually invest in whatever it is at the bottom and click on that link at the bottom. Again, these are all systems that have been developed over the years to get you to get to that stage. But this takes us on nicely to the next one, which is, clearly beware of get-rich-quick schemes. There is no such thing. Yes, in hindsight, we can find out about how Amazon went skyrocketing, how Tesla went up 700% last year, and all the rest of it. But in the beginning, no one knew that was going to happen. So when somebody comes along to you and says, oh, this is going to skyrocket, or we're going to make huge amounts of money in this within the next year, you immediately your alarm bell should be ringing.
Yeah, I don't think the only thing that makes money is hard work. So, and usually
generally you want to be wary of any opportunities claiming to be able to give you a large sum of money quickly overnight. Always look behind everything and let time pass before making any quick decisions on making investments in search of a quick buck. It's short-sighted and will often lead to disappointment. Be careful of falling prey to human greed. And I'll be honest, we're all like that. It's a human trait. It's in us, and it's a desire to be better than what we are just now, and it's normal. So the people that actually operate these schemes know how to take advantage of that. I mean, I'll take Buy to Let, for example. It's amazing how many times I see the Jack the lads or lasses on social media, and I'm making this and I could make that, and I'm making thousands and I'm making everything. And then they're like, so how long have you been doing it? Oh, I've been doing it a year. And then I check their accounts and it's like they've not got any money at all. Because they've got a requirement to submit public accounts. So unless you can show me something in black and white right now in front of me about what you've got in terms of assets, because the accounts are maybe a year out of date, there's no way I'm going to believe you. You know, I had one recently where this organisation said within 2 years we've managed to acquire and grow a portfolio of 200 properties, and then I look behind it and it says, nah, you've not managed to acquire 200 properties. You've used other people's money to acquire 200 properties. So you don't own anything. But they were making out to everybody else that they were going to, you know, we're going to sell you courses to teach you how to get 200 properties. Well, you're not getting any 200 properties because they're all owned by someone else. And all you're doing is a managing agent and looking after them. Or you're leveraging somebody else's money, but you're not actually doing what you're implying it you're doing. There's an implication there. So you have to watch out for things like an implication and look behind that and think to yourself, is this what actually is happening? Or is this just what they're trying to make on the face of it's happening? So that's probably one of the most recent ones in the buy-to-let industry, where there's loads and loads of people selling courses and getting people to pay thousands and thousands of pounds. And they're only one step ahead of them in their knowledge. And they're only passing on knowledge from someone else that's one step ahead of them and one step ahead of them. And it kind of comes down to what you're saying. It is bordering on a line of what I call it the aeroplane game. So if you know what the aeroplane game, do you know what the aeroplane game is?
Is it a bit like the choo-choo game?
Now you're making this up.
The aeroplane game I used to play, and it's quite clean, was trying to get the kids to eat, and you go with the airplane. Come on, then.
No, that's not the airplane game I'm thinking about. No, that's not anything to do with Get Rich Quick. So Get Rich Quick, aeroplane game. Now, aeroplane game is it is illegal, okay? So the aeroplane game works on the principle that you have to recruit more people to sit on the aeroplane as well as you. And they all have to pay towards that. And the person that moves up the seats to the front cockpit and becomes the pilot gets their payday. Okay? So once they get their payday, that's fine. They're out of the game and they've got their money. But then everybody else before them, after them, is actually recruiting to get everybody else to pay in to sit on the aeroplane. Now, this aeroplane could be, this is fictitious. So you know what I mean? So it's like everybody's on it. And then what happens is, at some point in time, legislation changes, or somebody catches up on you in terms of the police or anything like that, and then the aeroplane crashes, and everybody left in the seats on the aeroplane loses all their money. So that's effectively what the aeroplane game is.
Yeah, you just have to be really, really cautious of it. Get anybody that's trying to get you to sign up for something within a time limit, a quick time limit. It doesn't give you time to research it.
Yeah. And there's no way. I mean, if in doubt, your gut reaction is probably the right response.
Yeah.
So, takes me nicely to beware of requests for cryptocurrency, wire transfers, or gift cards. Fraudsters will commonly offer enticing opportunities that require that you pay them in cryptocurrency, money transfers, or gift cards. This is often an indication of a scam because these funds are almost non-recoverable. You know straight away, as soon as somebody actually asks you to pay by a debit card and they've no indication about wanting you to pay by a credit card, you know there's something wrong. Because a credit card is recoverable, a debit card isn't. Remember, stolen cryptocurrency is gone forever. There is no bank, no government, no authority. It can help you recover your funds, and the fraudsters know that. And if you receive this kind of request, do not respond. Anything that asks you to pay anything that you've got no recourse of, then you're in trouble. So normally I'll go through a credit card, or I'll potentially go through PayPal if I need to. But I'll make sure I don't do anything with either cash or with debit card unless I can verify the source I'm paying it to is an original source that I know for a fact. What's your thoughts on that?
I usually leave all the payments up to the other half, I must admit, but when I have had to deal with making payments for anything large, I'm always very careful, and I would use a credit card if at all possible, just so that we've got that safety of recall on it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And finally, the last one, beware of COVID-19 scams. They're rife. They're clearly rife now. You know yourself, what's the classic ones? It's like, I'll sell you a test kit. It's like for £200. It's like, well, I could go down and get them for free.
Yeah, and PPE as well was one of the other ones, that will supply you with your PPE, and most of it's fallen off the back of a lorry. But I think the difficult one there is the testing kits, and there's so many false ones out there that people are relying on results from them to prove that they're okay for going out and about.
Yeah, I mean, people all over the world have lost millions to COVID-related scams. I mean, these scams were tied to everything from vaccines to stimulus checks to unemployment benefits. Even poker saying, we'll get you, we'll do your applications for you. Sadly, many scammers are preying on the vulnerable of people who are scared and looking for relief and answers during a difficult time. Stay vigilant and look out for scams using pandemic buzzwords as a way to extract money information. One of the other ones is when we go overseas, when we go climbing, there is, classic now is the one that you get for America when you have to apply to get into America for a visa. Now, you can go to America via their website, and you actually get it for next to nothing. But then there's a lot of these organizations that actually say that they're going to put an application in for you, and they do, but they charge you an arm and a leg for it. And they're doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah, I've heard that about some people that have put in applications for going to Australia and New Zealand, to live, and that their visas for residency there have been dealt with by a professional company. And all they've done, they've paid up thousands of pounds up front to find out that it's come to their moving day practically, and their visas are not valid because they're not real.
Absolutely. Okay, so just a recap then, and finally on that, if that's where we are. So let's look at the reminders. If an opportunity feels suspicious, inauthentic, or too good to be true, it most likely is. That's probably the key here. Always back up your private keys, seed phrases, and secure locations, and never share them with anyone else under any circumstances at all. Do not send money, cryptocurrency, or sensitive personal information to people you do not know. I mean, these are all standard obvious things, but believe it or no, we actually, people actually just don't, they just forget that, don't they?
You can just, have a momentary lapse of common sense sometimes and get caught up in the moment and think, yeah, okay, here you go.
Yeah. Never assume a website is legitimate. Always do your research and check for the official site logo and check the URL address and make sure it's properly encrypted, because if it is, it's more than likely been verified as a domain, but equally, it will be ranked by Google as a result of it. And that's probably my top tips. I mean, with ultra low interest rates and literally no returns in the bank, there are many people out there waiting to take advantage of that enthusiasm by setting traps throughout the process. Please remain vigilant for fraudsters, secure your private information, and use your judgment when it comes to people and companies with whom you do business. Often I've found the first reaction of feeling or feeling is actually the right one. So, you know, go with your gut. Your sixth sense is actually true. It's inherent in our nature. And women have it. Women have it more than men for some reason. But that initial response is actually embedded in our DNA from the very, very beginning to caveman days and cavewoman days. If you're unsure about the legitimacy of a text, direct message, you can report or block a fake accounts on the respective platforms. Check out the link to the National Cyber Security Centre, which is the government one for the UK, and I've put a link into it in this blog itself. I mean, if you've enjoyed the show, guys, please share it with your friends, encourage other people to stay safe and informed in the whole process. Tag some people in it. Clearly, the most vulnerable people in our society are the most elderly people in our society, and they're the ones that don't understand new technology. And possibly the reason that I did this show like this was to make it in layman's terms. So I didn't really want somebody to come on and talk all geeky about information and confuse everybody. And I felt it was more appropriate just to come on and be authentic from our point of view as the end user. I mean, is that kind of where you were thinking as well, Andrea?
Yeah, I think so. And I would also say that obviously the older population, although they're getting more tech savvy now, there are still a number of them out there that don't realise what happens with tech, you know, with the PIN details and things for their bank cards. Yeah. And it has been known that, you know, if somebody's got a carer going in to get them shopping and that, they take the card and they take the number to go and get the elderly person shopping. So I would say that no matter how much you trust a person, I wouldn't be letting that happening, and try and find some other way of, you know, getting the shopping done. Yeah. But, you know, I'm not saying you can't trust your carers, but what I'm saying is you really should be careful at all bases.
From a point of view of auditing, so I was, most people won't know, I was an accountant in industry, a financial controller, financial director. From a point of view of internal control and auditing, this is the things that we were taught all the time. You need to make sure you can control everything, and you make sure you do audit checks now and again. So in other words, if somebody's gone as a carer, then just check your bank statement or check your accounts just to make sure they are actually doing what they're meant to be doing. You know, I'm not saying that that's going to happen all the time. This is once in a blue moon this will ever happen. It's very, very rare it'll ever happen. But it's just all these wee things that audit checks. Get a friend to check as well. It's unlikely that two people, and we were taught this in auditing, it's unlikely on internal control, it's unlikely that two people will collude with each other in any sort of fraud or anything like that. So if you have two people involved and you ask another person, it's unlikely that anything will actually happen in that process. So it makes it more secure. So if you need to ask someone, please ask another person you trust and just give them a heads up. I mean, they're just going to say, you know, everything's fine. That's fine, and that's okay. But it just gives you peace of mind that you've done the right thing, rather than actually sitting worrying about it, or rather than, God forbid, you know, you get further down the road and everybody thinks, how did that happen?
Yeah, my life savings have gone.
Aye, I mean, you know, it's very rare it happens, but the news often puts it on, and the newspapers often put it on. And you've got to remember, there is 66 million people in Britain. So when one person goes on the front page of the news and says they've lost their life savings, it's one person out of 66 million. You've got more chance of winning the lottery. That's 1 in 15 million. So that's it, guys. I mean, you got any final words on it, Andrea? Or you know, we've kind of covered everything.
Yeah, I mean, I do think people are being safer nowadays. And I actually had somebody, I couldn't get somebody on the phone the other day there, so I emailed them and said, you know, we're looking for an updated postal address for you because you've recently moved house and would like to, you know, with us, and would like to send you a gift. And he phoned me and said, I just wanted to talk to you because I wasn't sure whether it was some kind of scam or not. And I said, no, it's definitely not a scam, but, you know, you're good on you for checking.
Yeah. I was waiting to say that wasn't me, was it?
No, it wasn't you.
Yeah, it's true though, but that is the point. I mean, we have been phoning people out to send them out gifts, haven't we? And and it's absolutely right. I mean, there was nothing wrong with him phoning back and saying, I'm just making sure that, you know, you are who you are and what you're sending out. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But be careful, because I've had it with British Gas to say that, oh, I'll give you my number and you could phone me back and I'll verify I'm British Gas. And it's like, well, no, really. because you could give me any number going and I could just be phoning you back and you could go, oh, hello, British Gas.
Yeah, some people are actually getting telephone calls from companies and they'll say, we'll, phone this number back and you can verify that, we are who we are. But what they actually do at the other end, when you think they've put the phone down, they haven't. And so when you phone it back, they just pretend that you're through to a call center or whatever. And you then give them the sensitive information that they're wanting from you.
Yeah,
so
that's when when somebody says, in order to get us back, please hit number 1 or press hash, and then then we'll get you. It's like, no, don't do that. Just put the phone down and forget it. And probably block the number as well, because that's not legitimate. That's people just trying to scam you and get back in touch with you. And that's it. That's effectively, wow, we've covered that 55 minutes. Woo. So hopefully that's helped everybody. If you've got any further questions, please feel free to message us direct. We're more than happy to answer the questions. But we're not the experts, remember, but we can put you in touch with the experts. And that's why I put a lot of links into this post, in order to give you that information direct from the legitimate sources that would actually tell you all that information. Okay, thanks very much for coming on, Andrea, and we'll look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks for